Good morning, everyone. We're really happy to see you. Thank you for participating in the Rockefeller Foundation's inaugural Centennial event. This is an exciting occasion, an important gathering, and really an august body of attendees, to say the least. I'm especially grateful to those of you who have traveled great distances to be here. We know there are people from India, from South Africa, from Denmark, among others. Indeed, you've probably discovered that one of the very important aspects of resilience is caffeine. Well, back in 1913, the Rockefeller Foundation embarked on its bold mission to protect the well-being of mankind throughout the world. For nearly 100 years, we have worked to fulfill that mission, and this forum officially begins our centennial celebration. And indeed, if you need any indication of just how much the world has changed during that time span, note that an organization whose original mission statement focused on mankind now has a woman at the helm. But at Rockefeller, we feel that our centennial merely isn't an occasion for celebration. It's a moment to look ahead, to analyze which global issues will dominate the next decade and beyond, and to sculpt new ideas for addressing them. In doing so, we believe that innovation must remain at the heart of our work. Innovation made possible the chartering of the Foundation in 1913. Innovation helped create the field of public health and achieve a breakthrough green revolution in South Asia and Latin America. And innovation in its modern forms is the key to solving some of today's most pressing problems, including building resilience and expanding economic opportunity for more people in more places around the world. That is why the theme for our centennial activities is innovation for the next 100 years. First, we will hold convenings around the world like this Resilience Forum, engaging in a variety of topics, forward-looking topics. We believe that having participants from a variety of sectors and with differing points of view will result in innovative new ideas and an effective expansion of networks of visionary global leaders. Second, we'll be creating an online global engagement network. This network will consist of innovative thinkers from a variety of sectors, and we will enable them and us to develop new solutions to problems collaboratively using technology-enabled platforms for co-creation. Third, we will make the stories from our past and the work from our past relevant to addressing today's issues through a series of custom publications and web-based materials. And finally, a vitally important part of the Centennial Initiative is awarding Centennial grants and prizes to help put what we generate together into action. As with all of our Centennial activities going forward, this forum aims to promote the sharing of ideas, the exploring of linkages, and the breaking down of silos. Our goal is to inform policymakers and planners, to create new public agendas, to mobilize action, and to protect people and property. Why? Because if the past century has taught us anything at all, and if the history of the Rockefeller Foundation has taught us anything at all, it's that partnerships and joint explorations can lead, and indeed do lead, to extraordinary triumphs of human achievement. That is also the reason why we have chosen to convene this first Centennial Forum on the subject of resilience, a concept badly in need of further collective interpretation and action, as together we contemplate this new, uncertain century. The figure displayed as you were entering the auditorium showed the intersecting interests of all of you regarding social, economic, and environmental resilience. We are reminded of that need with every passing day, thanks to jolts from the markets, shocks from a changing climate, stresses from upheavals like those in the Middle East, and potential political and economic upheaval in Europe. In this time of great dynamism and change, there is increasing need for focus on how to build resilience in the face of uncertainty. Let's start by defining it. Resilience is actually an old and well-established word. It is used with precision in engineering and material science, in psychology, and more recently in ecology. Both Francis Bacon and Henry Moore used the term in the 17th century. And like all terms in use for so long, there are variations in its usage. But across every academic discipline, and indeed in most common parlance, there is a universal meaning of the term that includes the ability to respond to or bounce back from stress and shocks in a healthy and functional way, and indeed, at times, to be transformed into something, or in the case of psychology, someone, better adapted for future shock and uncertainty. Before we focus on how to make people and systems more resilient to the challenges facing us in the future, I thought it would be instructive just to think a bit about resilience through the lens of history. After all, a centennial invites us to reflect on the last 100 years, and this is a period that the historian Eric Hobsbawm called the Age of Extremes. Over the past century, during this Age of Extremes, humanity's well-being was repeatedly stressed and threatened, at times to the point of breakdown. But thankfully, more often than not, what we think of as history can also be understood as the story of resilience. We suffered a worldwide economic depression, a series of convulsive revolutions and wars in Europe, and then we conquered fear itself. We neared a catastrophic global food shortage and overcame it through miraculous advances in agriculture and genetics. We watched the rise and then the fall of the Berlin Wall and the economic integration of most of Europe. Now in the early decades of the 21st century, we are witnessing a series of new shocks and stresses. The long-held fundamentals of a strong economic system, globalization and free trade, have increased the efficiency of markets, but they may well be reducing the resilience of economies and indeed societies. Industrialization in the last century has given us an expanding global population and a warming world. And that warming world is changing how and where all of these new people will live, and in some cases, whether they will survive. What distinguishes today's threats from the past is the incredible interconnectedness of our planet. Domains once considered separate, the environment, the economy, social challenges, are now inextricably linked. Shocks and stresses in a single geography inevitably ricochet throughout every other. Vulnerability in one area leads to vulnerability in many. We may not know how our resilience will be tested in the future, but we know very well that it will be at the points where our technologies and our economies and our communities intersect. In other words, at our points of greatest vulnerability. Look at your cell phones, for instance. Many of their most sensitive components are derived from rare earth metals mined in Central Africa. It's the tungsten in your phone that makes it vibrate. And these metals are used in everything from jet turbines to high-tech medical devices. Armed groups already fight to control and exploit these conflict minerals. But if a large-scale war broke out, it would cause a global shortage and skyrocketing prices. Prices that are high would then keep our poorest and our most vulnerable from accessing mobile technology. Just when we are finding innovative ways to employ mobile telephony and texting to close the gap in access to quality and affordable health care for the poor, to bring banking and financial services to the poor, and to make mass transit more predictable and therefore more convenient for everyone. Or imagine a consistent damaging stream of data leaks that significantly compromise cybersecurity. Cybercriminals could hack personal and financial data, commit wide-scale identity theft, and steal billions of dollars. This scenario reveals the universality of vulnerability and the paradox, perhaps, that in some circumstances, maybe only the very poor, the unbanked, would be more resilient to these particular threats. As hackers publicized increasingly sensitive information, we would trust our financial and our government institutions less and less. Past data leaks have already caused international consternation and diplomatic resignations, including the U.S. ambassador to Mexico and the director of Al Jazeera. Imagine if secure data, such as the identity of covert operatives or even nuclear codes, were released into the public domain. We could see disarray and a massive breakdown of critical infrastructure. These are just a few examples of how a threat could play out, starting as an attack on one system, systems like those of you in this room are expert in, that could cascade through others. In the first plenary this morning, we'll hear how a shock in one domain could impact an industry or a community or a country, and what experts have done or are doing to prepare for or mitigate vulnerability and to build resilience. With the help of these panelists, we will explore the cascade of consequences that could emerge across all our communities when a shock is felt. Then, through our short talks and our lunch conversation, we will focus on a broader array of domains in which building resilience is crucial. And in the second panel, we'll be pressing to see what we can learn to better prepare for that moment, to avoid its worst ramifications, and to get through and rebound more successfully from that which cannot be avoided. By the end of today, we hope you'll help us answer the question, what can we do to try to transform our most critical systems to ensure that they will continue to be resilient or be even more resilient in the years and decades to come? And what can be done across systems so that resilient actions in one sector also enable and promote resilience in other sectors? We've asked you here so that we and you can learn from your experience and experimentation, because building resilience is not, and it cannot be, the task or action of a single actor. Governments, businesses, individuals, communities must make a concerted and collaborative effort. It will take truly unprecedented partnerships and a collective reimagining of the way the pieces of our society fit together. Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places." That's true whether we mean the resilience of the human spirit or the resilience of our political and economic institutions. So how will we ensure that after a major shock, our people, our institutions and communities and infrastructure, our broken places, heal faster and reemerge stronger? How will we ensure that our world has the ability not just to survive, but to thrive in the face of shock and stress, to transform into a better place? We believe that this will be one of the great undertakings of the 21st century, and the Rockefeller Foundation's 100th anniversary begins with this critical question that we will explore here today with your help. Thank you again for being here.